I was enjoying writing code, but this is a case where you could write code and then something actually moved around in the real world. And that was so much more satisfying than just getting the right answer. When I was at university, there was a professor who had a lab in the department, and he had robots. And so when it was time to go do some research in a lab as an undergrad, I went around and looked at the different labs, and he had the lab where things were moving around. And so, I was enjoying writing code, but this is a case where you could write code and then something actually moved around in the real world. And that was so much more satisfying than just getting the right answer, in terms of a number or a color to appear on a screen, which is essentially that's the alternative output from writing software.
Yeah. So would you say that this robotic lab was that enabling environment for you to then pursue what you wanted to do?
Absolutely. In many ways. I mean, it was the way that I was exposed to robotics in the first place. So I didn't even know that this was a possibility until I started working in that lab. It also gave me access to the robots so that I could kind of get the experience of working with them and find that I enjoyed it. And then in terms of like specifically what I do now, it taught me the importance of the infrastructure. What I've made a career out of doing is building software infrastructure for robots. And that started in that lab. We had robots, but the first thing you need is a bunch of software infrastructure because programming robots requires specialized tools. You need a lot of enabling software. And so we ended up building that and starting to make it general purpose.
And it's the same for you as been.
Yeah, it's exactly the same story, except there was a little bit more Lego involved in my story, and a Commodore 64 instead of an Apple II. So I actually built robots as a child from Lego, but I also didn't know it was a career choice. I studied computer science because that was, what you could do with computers, but I also got into robotics from a lab at the university. So your lab, was that in Louisiana or?
It was. That was at Tulane University in New Orleans.
Okay, New Orleans, okay.
Which is in Louisiana.
No, okay, got that.
Yeah. Yeah, Jim Jennings was the undergrad advisor there. And he really changed my life. The fact that he let me as a 20-year-old come and spend time in his lab writing software for robots, that's what led to where I am today.
And what about some of the other people who you believe entrusted you with some of the things that led you to build ROS? Because the reason I'm asking you is that in popular culture, there's always this one hero that gets portrayed, but perhaps not the enablers that along the way sort of build the hero. So who have been the enablers for you to become a hero?
Oh boy, that's a large cast. Let's see, it's hard to know like what part of life to draw that from. To just keep it on the professional side, I'll say that honestly, my PhD advisor, Maya Matarik, who husband knows well and worked with when he was visiting, she was a big part of that in the sense that she supported me when I was in grad school working in her lab. To be honest, she actually pushed back against a lot of the work that I did on infrastructure because I would go into my weekly meetings with her and say, hey, I put this new feature into the software that we wrote. And she would say, stop doing that.
It's not very publishable.
You're building systems. You're supposed to be doing science. You're supposed to do algorithms. You're supposed to write papers. And she was 100% right. And so I had to also do that. But she also, she tolerated what I was doing on the infrastructure side and saw the value in it as well. And now happily takes credit for it.
So she just didn't kill your interest, but nudged you into.
Yeah, she also taught me how to be a scientist. She taught me how to, write papers, how to make an argument, how to make a presentation, to the public. So there's a lot of other, like grad school is about, it's not learning how to do a particular thing. It's learning how to think about problems as opposed to how to solve a particular problem.